He's back for his monthly update with us. It's Yoni Mazor of GETIDA, and remember, he's the C. You're not exactly the CFO. You have a fun name for it. Tell us exactly your position at GETIDA.
Yeah, I'm the Chief Growth Officer, which is CGO. I like to laugh about it sometimes. I say I'm the Chief Gangster Officer, CGO. So
I love it. It's Chief Growth Officer, and so did your company grow in 2022? Let's start there.
yeah, thank God, we did pretty well. Growth was healthy. Yeah.
And so, I know you do the consumer trends, and I'm sure a lot of clients came to you for that because nobody was sure in this inflationary period what was what. And so, how did you help your clients this past year?
So one component for our clients that we helped with was logistics and financial reconciliation, especially for third party Amazon sellers who sell on Amazon's platform. They move a lot of inventory from all over the world actually. So we have technology developed that helps them to reconcile everything to make sure that everything's done properly. And of course, anything is gone missing or damaged or has an issue, we're able to help them solve it. So this way, they can really utilize the maximum value of their inventory and achieve maximum cost reduction and profitability. So today we're all focused on the profit because this is times of cooling down. The economy is not that hot. Because when the economy is hot, a lot of companies try to just maximize revenue, right? Sales, revenue. They think less about profit, but when things get tight, profit becomes a centerpiece. Because if you're a profitable business, you'll stay in business. If you're not profitable, you'll probably go out of business. So our solutions can help them stay profitable. So hopefully they can stay in business and prosper for many years.
And I'm sure you have a nice rollover of clientele into 2023. So, what's the new year looking like for not only GETIDA, but for the consumer?
So for the consumer, this is times of austerity a little bit. Everything's kind of hanging on the balance and the edge in terms of the economy. And we're all kind of feel and predict that there's going to be a recession, but not sure really how and when. And it's kind of a funny situation. People and consumers are holding back a little bit. But if looking into Q4 of 2022, the holiday season, consumers were okay. They were shopping. They did not hold back too much. They did hold back maybe on things that are more, luxury or really prohibitive. But for the most part, the stuff they really wanted or needed, they purchased it and they got it. So the results were okay for the season. I did a little survey online, and at least for Amazon sellers, and it seems like that for their entire 2022, they experienced 55% indicated that they experienced growth, so their business is still growing. 55%, which is healthy, is pretty good. And then about, I believe, 25% business actually went down. Right, they generate less revenue, and the rest of them pretty much stay the same. So if I would run the survey for 2021, I would probably see that over 80% of the Amazon sellers, their business grew. But now that number is down to like 55%, so growth is still there, but it's cooling off, and it's all coming because of the consumer. If the consumer is cooling off, and on their purchases, it's still growing, it's still okay, but it's cooling off. It's taking a break in a way, or reducing the speed. That's how it's affecting the businesses out there.
All right, Yoni. Well, it's good to know that people were still spending. Now, do you see that spending going down in January, or are people going to use up the gift cards now that they might have got at Christmas time?
I mean, they will use the gift cards. That's fine. That's a little booster, but you get a lot of refunds. Stuff that people realize, I don't really need it and stuff like that. That's when they might go for a refund. So that kind of takes away from the beauty and glory of Q4. That's kind of you can ask any major retailer that Q4 is the party, but Q1 is the hangover. So that's what's going to happen. And people kind of start gearing up to follow their taxes and looking through their expenses. So and it's, the household income. So they button up and tight the belt. So it's definitely in Q1 for consumers. It's a cool off period. It's a period where they have to be more sober, looking into their numbers and their spending. But nevertheless, when people need something and consumers need something here in the United States, they're still in the sense and motion of, yeah, we're just going to purchase it. We're going to get it. We're going to look for deals. We're going to look for the best offer, but we're going to get it. It's not times of, I would say, recession or depression yet, at least on the psychology of the consumer.
It's always interesting because around this time, January, February, is really just a dull period. Do you find that with finances as well? Like the market's not really moving or it's actually dipping. So, do you expect the same in these next couple of months where it's freezing cold? And as you say, is the economy going to be that cold these couple of months?
Yes, they're expecting that it's going to be a pretty cold Q1 and Q2 on the financial markets, especially if the Federal Reserve will keep raising interest rates or even stay at the same level of interest rates, which is very very likely. Because the more they raise the rates or keep it at this higher level than before, the more expensive money is, right? So if the money is expensive, people and businesses are less willing to raise money or borrow money to grow their business, right? And hire more people and build more factories and build businesses. Less and less of that. So all these public companies and traded companies and stuff like that, their growth levels will be affected. They're not going to be as growth oriented, and the numbers and results is not going to be as pretty. So looking into that, the market is really an indicator of the future. That's what really the markets are trying to be, and that's what they're indicating. They're indicating money is more expensive than before. There's a good chance that money will become even more expensive, and because of that, things are looking a bit colder. But still, there's companies borrowing and doing what they got to do because they can really calculate and see, okay, even though money is more expensive, after everything's said and done, we're going to make money, so we're okay with it. It's not as cheap or, it's more expensive what we like to pay in terms of our margins, but we're still going to make money, so they're going to go for it. So it's not like complete freeze. It's just, cool off where, there's less willing, but there's definitely still a whole lot that are willing, and they will, do what they got to do to keep moving forward. In the same manner as people buying, purchasing homes. If you really need a home and eventually you can afford it, even though it's more expensive than it was before because the mortgage rate will be higher. But you go for it, you do it. You got to, keep moving forward. You want to have a bigger space, a better, property for you, your children, your family. You want to, have a good experience. So you do it. You move forward. So in the same little indicator of humans with their homes, I think the economy kind of, and the financial markets, move forward regardless of. If things are more expensive, but you can still afford it.
All right, we are seeing a 1.7 trillion dollar spending bill being touted today by both Biden and McConnell down in Kentucky. But I'm going to ask you, do these $1 trillion spending bills affect the consumer? I mean, it always just seems like, all right, that happens, but do we really feel the impact? I guess I don't as much, and maybe I should be paying attention to that. But will people feel this $1 trillion bill more so than maybe other spending bills that we've had before?
I mean, if you compare it to during the peak of Corona, where they really kind of released billions of dollars directly to the pockets of the population and consumers, and that really gave a lift to household income and savings and spending and consumerism. So that was a kind of a direct action. Here, it's more generalistic. It's across the board for all the the United States government branches and departments. So in that matter, I don't think it's going to be like immediate momentum, immediate effect. Maybe it will be a trickle down effect where there's more budgets to create more more better education systems, better army, and if the armies and the Navy and things of that nature, they're going to start purchasing more and more equipment and things like that. So that will help the factories and the businesses, but I will not see direct momentum at the short run, maybe in the long run. So it's not going to help us in Q1, Q2 for financial markets, as far as I can see.
Well, we talked about this before about the interest rates. Do you see them raising it in the next couple of months, or have they calmed down with that?
I think it really depends on the inflation level. So if the inflation is still kind of there, maybe about 4 or 5%, that rate, it could be that they're going to still raise the interest. It could be 0.5%, 0.25%, or it could be even like symbolic, a fraction of a percent, just to show that they're signaling that they're still raising because interest is still here, inflation is still here. So it's a real battle between the Federal Reserve against inflation. So if the inflation kind of picks its head, the Federal Reserve is going to use the hammer, and the hammer is raising interest. But if the inflation really shows that they're on their under 3 or things of that nature. It could be that they'll say, okay, for now we're just going to stay still. I'm going to keep interest rate as it is. Give another 30 days, see where it's at, and inflation's still at the same place or going down. They might signal that they're going to start reducing and lowering the interest. So it's a battle. It's just a boxing match, and it really depends on the opponent. And the main opponent is inflation.
Well, I always thought that raising the interest rates increases inflation, or is that sort of a myth?
Depends. It really depends. So we just experienced, since 2008, where we had the global financial crisis. We had the subprime mortgages collapse and everything. That's when the Federal Reserve really dropped interest, pretty much to zero, close to zero, and we went to a period of over a decade, or over even 12, or more than 12 years, where interest rates were really low and money was cheap. So, but inflation for the most part stayed steady. It was okay. But then COVID hit in, and that's where really the pendulum swing started to hit all over the place, and interest really raised its head. So it's a the economy is a complex system. Has all these influences coming from all over the place. So really 2020 into 2021, that's when interest really lifted its head up to dimensions that we haven't seen since the 80s, about 40 years, and that's where it's at. So if you can really package the 12 or 13 years since 2008, I know lower interest rates doesn't really contribute too much to inflation. It really depends on many other factors of the economy. So for the most part, I would say statistically, looking to the numbers, it doesn't. So lower interest or lower interest rates not necessarily contribute to inflation.
Well, that's interesting to know. One last thing, because obviously you do work with the Amazon influencer space, and so how is that to end 2022? And are you seeing a large retention number, if you will, or people continuing in the program heading into 2023?
Yes, definitely. The digital age of social media and influence and content is king. And the attention of people, if you can really reach and influence the attention of people, it's gold. It's worth more than gold these days. Even if you have gold, it's cute. But if you can really influence people to shift them to and direct them to buy products, that's really gold, or more than gold today. So definitely momentum is there. It's working. It's on the rise. And Amazon wants more of that. Once again, if you really drill down to it, it's the focus and the attention of people. And if you walk around, you see people are becoming zombies. They're always kind of, into their phone, into the content that's out there in social media platforms. And the ones that dominate those spheres and have the attention of these people, they're winning. They're winning big. And big platforms like Amazon, they want a piece of the action, so they're rewarding them with good compensation. So I predict it's gonna keep rising and growing.
And you guys help them get into the program, right? So tell us your role at GETIDA with that.
No. So we don't necessarily. We cannot really help anybody because it's really on Amazon's. At least on Amazon, they have their own guidelines and rules, which are, to be honest, they're not clear. Nobody really knows what they're really looking for. So the best you can do is really apply and give them all the stats, and they're gonna make their decision. It's like a weird audition almost. You don't know. It's like trying to get a role with the Hollywood. You go to an audition, you don't really know what's the real thing that gets you in or not. It's kind of vague. But what we do help with is just the awareness. So if you're listening to this or watching this, and you're not aware that Amazon has a program for influencers where they really compensate you well, now you do. So we really put the attention out there to that option. It's called AIP, Amazon Influencer Program. Just go there or Google it and log into the program and apply. And if you get in and you drive traffic into Amazon and consumers shop and buy, you're going to get a good compensation. For the most part, it's about 10%. So let's say, for example, you're able to drive traffic that generated $1 million in revenue, you're going to get $100,000. If the traffic you drove into Amazon generated $10 million, you're going to get $1 million. So pretty lucrative, pretty good, especially when you're working with real established brands and you can really create volume. An amazing program, a great opportunity, for the digital age. So our little role is attention and awareness because, there's so much noise out there and so many possibilities and options. The little we do is really raise your awareness and attention to this matter.
Well, that's very cool. Real quick, I know you left sort of the day-to-day workspace, if you will, to go and be part of Amazon, and that's how GETIDA grew, right? Out of your experience with the program, you decided to start your own company or co-found it?
Yeah, so what happened was, over a decade ago, we started selling products online. We're doing online retail. And back in the day, the platform we started on was eBay. That was like the main arena back in those days. But then Amazon was up and coming. So in 2013, we started selling on Amazon. And all of a sudden, the business grew very, very quickly from 0 to 20 million in revenue. And then we became a part of a larger group that together as a group, we're doing over 100 million in revenue. And the moment we got to those kind of dimensions and scales, we had to really create a good solution for reconciling all the activity. All the transactions, logistically speaking, all the inventory that moves from point A to point B, and all the fees involved. There's a lot of data going on, so we cannot really store it and handle it with Excel spreadsheets. So that pushed us to create technology, right, and software to do that scale, but also to set up a dedicated team to keep managing that. And from that team, and for that solution that created to ourselves, we told our friends from the industry that we have these capabilities. So they told us, help us, we'll pay you. And that kind of spawned off a brand new company called GETIDA, where we really focus on reconciling financial and logistics transactions for Amazon sellers all over the world. So one thing leads to another. Yeah.
GETIDA 365, GETIDA 365 on Twitter. Yoni Mazor, you can be found on LinkedIn at Yoni, YONI Mazor. Thanks so much as always for joining for our monthly update. Let's do it again next month.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Alex. Happy New Year.
I'm Alex Garrett, one leg up on the economy with Yoni Mazor to start 2023.